How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and I'm joined by my brother and co host, Justin Backer. And today, we got a game to talk about. The Knicks had their first preseason game on Monday night, and they won. They defeated the Boston Celtics by a score of 114 to 107. It's just preseason. We don't want to, make any rash reactions or anything like that, but there were some interesting things to talk about. And we have some big takeaways that we had from the game. So, without further ado, I'm just going to pass it off to Justin. Let him start this off.
First off, I'm super excited basketball. We've been saying it all off season that, we can't wait for basketball to return. If you're a Giants fan or a Yankees fan or even a Jets fan too, professional sports have kind of not done you with many favors this year, Mets fans too. So, New York sports has kind of suffered this year. The Knicks are kind of holding the city on its back right now and the Liberty as well. So glad to see that the Knicks are back in action. And today was first preseason game. They won. Art had TV, which I was really impressed to see. Something he had been needing to work on for a while was his free throw shooting, and he had a great showing with the free throw shooting. The field goal percentage you would like to see a little bit better, but the aggressiveness was there. He was making really quick decisions and good decisions too. You saw him several times penetrate the paint and kick out to a corner shooter. I thought that was great. His decision making looked a little bit like how it did in the playoffs. But the star of the show was obviously Emmanuel Quickly. He had 21 points in 23 minutes. He was just phenomenal on both sides of the ball, similar to how he was last year against the Boston Celtics. He's becoming kind of a Celtic killer. I know it's preseason, but it's just something to look at. And something I want to talk, a big fan of that. The spacing is just not there with that lineup. I know it's preseason, so I'd rather that was something that I noticed. And Evan Fournier even played a little bit. He got an extended run. He played pretty well for how much he'll play later in the regular season. But so and Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle played a good. They are so. If that's really all we see of Jalen Brunson in this preseason, I think that was perfectly fine. He played a lot of basketball over the summer in FIBA, so I don't think we really need to see more of him. I think he did perfectly fine. So, those are kind of my big takeaways. And, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, no, I think those were some really interesting takeaways, especially RJ Barrett. He had, there was a lot of questions about him coming into the season. And quite frankly, we're not going to say that they're answered after just one preseason game, but he did look pretty comfortable out there, especially passing. Yes, the field goal percentage, was not great. He was 1 for 6. So, of course, that's still, not good, but it's preseason. It's the first game of preseason. I'm not going to, rag on him just yet. He was probably just trying to experiment with some certain shot selections. The free throws were very encouraging though. 9 for 9 from the free throw line. That's a huge encouragement. That is something we really, really needed to see out of him, especially out of a lot of things. We really want to see the 3-point shooting, but the free throw shooting was huge because a guy like RJ who gets into the paint a lot, he's going to get to the line a lot. So that means he needs to be able to hit those free throws, and he did tonight. That was huge. And I wanted to touch on this too. Mitchell Robinson had a very good game. I've been saying a couple times this offseason that Mitchell Robinson could make a case for an all-defense team, and he showed that today. He had 2 steals and 3 blocks today. He also, on the offensive side, had 10 points, 7 rebounds. I thought he played very well. I thought it was, a little bit the same old Mitch, but also just, I love seeing him being out there and being athletic, being aggressive. I thought he played very well. If he keeps playing like that into the regular season, we could see a very, very strong defensive season. Even like I said, maybe an all defense team is on the way, but not going to definitively say that again after one preseason game. Something that I do want to touch on: Dante DiVincenzo. It was his first game as a New York Knick. Obviously not technically in the regular season, but it was the first time he suited up in the orange and blue threads on the New York Knicks basketball court. He finished the game with 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He didn't shoot very well. He shot only 2 for 8, but it's preseason. Again, a lot of percentages are not going to be fantastic. So, I'm not going to knock on people for low shooting percentages in game 1 of the preseason. That would just be extremely premature of me to do that. But, like you said as well, Jalen Brunson, we all know how good he is at basketball, and he just showed that he did not miss a step at all. He only played 5 minutes, yet he scored 10 points. Looked like he was just absolutely cooking dudes in the first 5 minutes of that game. It looked like he's perfectly comfortable. Looks like he's going to continue to do what he did last season, maybe even take it to a higher level. And like you said, we don't really need to see more of him, this preseason. We saw plenty of him over the summer, did very well in the FIBA Cup. He did clearly look fine today. So we don't really need to see much more of him. I doubt we're going to see him that much more often. Same thing with Julius Randle. I know he played a little bit today, but I don't really anticipate Randle playing a whole lot of the preseason. I feel like, he'll play a little bit more in spurts. I don't think I feel like Brunson you won't see really at all the rest of the preseason, maybe one more time max. Randall you might see here and there, but I don't expect Randall to be playing like 20 minutes or anything like that. No, he's gonna be playing more like 10 to 12 minutes max in games the rest of the preseason and very much in spurts or small bunches. We don't need, especially with him coming off an ankle surgery too, he's not going to be playing a whole bunch. They're going to make sure that he's taking it easy a little bit and, most importantly, is ready for the regular season. But one big thing too, also I need to mention this. Boston didn't have any of their main guys playing. They were coming off of a back-to-back. They didn't have Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, or Kristaps Porzingis playing in this game. Pretty much a bunch of bench guys playing for Boston. So of course you don't want to look too deeply into the box scores. Considering that the Knicks were playing all their starters and all their bench guys, and Boston was playing a bunch of guys that might not even crack a roster spot. Obviously two stark differences, but these two teams are going to meet on opening night in about 2.5 weeks from now. So it is interesting to see how the Knicks played tonight, how they, fared in their first preseason game. They don't play again until Saturday. They got a few more days of rest compared to Boston, who was coming off a back-to-back, which is pretty rare in the preseason. It's kind of, interesting that they gave them a back-to-back right away for Boston fans. But, other than that, I mean, there were a lot of good signs this game. I forgot to mention too, Daquan Jeffries had a solid game as well. He had hit a couple threes as he came off the bench, in late game. Jacob Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother, had a couple good moments as well. I thought it was just fun to see some guys come into the game and show what they can do a little bit. Kind of a good vibes game. Wasn't really anything like too crazy. You know what I'm saying? And overall, I thought it was a fun game. I'm just glad basketball is back. I'm really really glad basketball is back. We've been missing it. We've been missing it a ton. So really excited for it. But I want to pass it off to you. I know I kind of just rambled a little bit. I want to pass it off to you. See if you got any final thoughts, not only for this game, but for games going forward in the preseason and what to possibly look forward to in the regular season.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on what you said about Mitchell Robinson. He looked good again. He had a great season last year, great playoffs too, and he looked like he was building off of that. He had 10 and 7 and 3 blocks in 23 minutes, and he honestly looks like he's in the best physical shape coming into a season in a really long time. Usually he comes into a season kind of slow. Something seems a little off with him physically, but he looked like he was in the best shape he's ever been in to really start a season. And you could tell him and Quickly have really been in the gym because they both look a lot bigger than they have been in the past. You could tell that they've put on some muscle and they've been in the gym hustling. So with DiVincenzo, I think this is honestly still nice to see that we have another floor spacer next to Quickly. We really haven't had someone like that since Alec Burks, so very interesting to see. And I'm actually interested to see how this lineup is going to play with Josh Hart next time that they play, I believe on Saturday, like you said. Josh Hart didn't play in this game. So I'm interested to see how that lineup is going to mesh with Josh Hart. Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims at the 4 probably won't be a thing in the regular season at all. So I don't really know why we had to see that today, but we did. So whatever. I guess Sims has to get some burn. So good for him, I guess. But yeah, those are kind of thoughts. And yeah, I'm going to pass the mic back over to you, let you know what you think.
Right, I think it was huge that you mentioned Josh Hart didn't play in this game. He was a healthy and active for those who weren't aware. So it's not like he's nursing an injury or nothing. No, they decided to sit him. They wanted to give him some rest. He also did play over the summer with Jalen Brunson in the FIBA Cup, so I think that's important to note. I do like that take though that you had, that you want to kind of see how the lineup of Quickly, DiVincenzo, and Hartenstein play with Josh Hart on Saturday. I feel like we will see that quite a bit in that game. That'll be kind of the opportunity for Tibbs to kind of see just how good that lineup could possibly be and how they'll play together. I think that'll be the best opportunity for right there. And Sims at the 4, that's not going to happen. And if Sims at the 4, the backup 4 does happen this season, I'll be kind of scratching my head a little bit because we saw it a couple times last season, and that might have been the worst front court I've ever seen in a long time. And, I don't think it was really that much better today, quite frankly. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of that much longer. But if there was any time to see if you could make it work, it was right now in game 1 of the preseason when it frankly does not matter what the result is. So this was the best time to check that out. But yeah, I don't expect to be seeing that much more, not only in the preseason, but also, just any time going forward. They're probably going to run a 9-man rotation. I think now at this point, the rest of season, the biggest question is going to be if guys like Evan Fournier can find his way back. Not only his role last season and how he got booted out of the rotation, but also how he thinks he can play. He had that quote a couple days ago where he basically said, he said, I can effing play. And he basically, was saying like, I can play and I can show you that I can play. And, he did well tonight. 11 points and he had those few 3-pointers. So, I don't think it was necessarily enough to warrant a roster spot right away. I think he's still got a little bit more to prove, obviously. I think everyone will agree with me on that. But, I think the rest of the way, we kind of know what the rotation is going to look like. So maybe if Fournier can find his way onto the roster, then good for him. But me personally, I don't see it happening. I don't think Fournier is going to make it on the roster. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going to want to mess with the current rotation they have. I think the whole 9-man rotation thing worked best for Tibbs last year, so he's going to basically run it back with that same scheme, just with Dante DiVincenzo in the mix instead of Obi Toppin. So that's pretty much what you're going to get out of it. But I think that's a good idea. I don't think you need to force Fournier into the rotation just because he's been voicing his displeasure. You don't at the end of the day you got to win basketball games, and Tom Thibodeau made it clear too that the team did win without him in the rotation last year. So we'll see how it plays out when the regular season begins. But guys, we are very excited that basketball is back. We're finally happy that we get to talk about games instead of other offseason rumors. We're finally happy to get you guys content about games and stuff. We'll be here all the time giving you guys post-game recaps, and be on the lookout in the regular season for some live streams as well. We're going to be doing those as well. This was just the first of many. We're going to be doing a lot of these during the season. A lot more content is on the way. So make sure you guys check out us on all of our social pages. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, of course, this YouTube page. Our personal Twitters are above our heads, or X accounts if you want to call it that. And we're also, all the audio versions of these podcasts, they're going to be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating on those. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to this video. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.